6 June 1944, Washington, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, President of the United States. Core metric, 5,000 ships cross 100 miles. A cold grey dawn blankets Washington, where Franklin Delano Roosevelt, his voice resolute, delivers a radio prayer for courage, uniting a nation behind soldiers crossing the English Channel. In Normandy, steel landing craft lurch through churning seas, carrying American troops toward Adolf Hitler's Atlantic Wall, a fortress of concrete steel and relentless gunfire. Roosevelt's words, broadcast to homes, factories, and farms, call for endurance and faith, binding millions to the largest amphibious assault ever mounted. 5,000 ships, minesweepers, destroyers, battleships, steam across 100 miles, a floating testament to American industry, engineered under Roosevelt's unyielding leadership to pierce the German line. Roosevelt's political genius has orchestrated this moment. His diplomacy, forged through years of conferences with Winston Churchill and Joseph Stalin, aligns the United States, Britain, and Canada into a coalition now striking northwestern France. The Lend-Lease Act, signed in 1941, channels American steel aircraft and ships to allies, building the arsenal that fuels this invasion. At home, Roosevelt's fireside chats rally workers to produce 5,000 ships, while his administration mobilizes factories to churn out tanks, guns, and supplies. Supreme Allied Commander Dwight David Eisenhower, selected with Roosevelt's endorsement, launches Operation Neptune, the assault phase of Overlord, on 6 June, delayed one day by weather after James Stagg's forecast. Utah and Omaha beaches are America's objectives, assigned to the 4th and 1st Infantry Divisions, supported by Rangers and Airborne units. The invasion's scope reflects Roosevelt's strategic foresight. Years of air raids coordinated with British forces have weakened German defences. Naval patrols secure the sea lanes. Deception operations, codenamed Fortitude, convince German commanders that Pas-de-Calais, not Normandy, is the target, holding the 15th Army far from the fight. Before dawn, pathfinders from the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions leap into Normandy's darkness, their C-47 seconds navigating flak and cloud to scatter paratroopers across the Cotentin Peninsula. Their mission: seize causeways behind Utah, disrupt German counterattacks, and sow chaos in the German 7th Army's rear. Rear Admiral Alan Goodrich Kirk's Western Naval Task Force, a product of Roosevelt's industrial mobilization, drives toward the coast. Minesweepers clear lanes at 3 knots, while battleships and cruisers unleash salvos at 3,000 yards, targeting bunkers and gun emplacements. At Utah, the 4th Infantry Division, under Lieutenant General John Lawton Collins, lands off target due to currents and wind meeting. Lighter resistance losses are under 200 men by mid-morning. Omaha is a crucible of fire. The 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions, under Major General Leonard Townsend, Gero's 5th Corps, confront entrenched positions held by the German 352nd Infantry Division. Surf-steel obstacles and enfilade fire stall the first waves, pinning men to wet shingle under a hail of bullets. Roosevelt's leadership extends beyond strategy to the human element. His speeches, delivered with measured gravitas, have steeled a nation for sacrifice, inspiring soldiers now facing the Atlantic Wall's wrath. The prayer he reads on 6 June, crafted to resonate with every American, underscores his role as a moral anchor, guiding the nation through war's uncertainty. The invasion's success hinges on this unity, diplomatic, industrial, and spiritual, forged by a president who has transformed America into a global force. German perspective at the turning point. High Command clings to Pas-de-Calais, deceived by Roosevelt's strategic feints. Naval guns fire 100 rounds per strongpoint before repositioning. Roosevelt's vision now challenges the Atlantic Wall's endurance. The assault's momentum builds on engineered systems, naval bombardment, airborne drops, and small unit tactics, all coordinated under Roosevelt's coalition. At Utah, the 4th Infantry Division pushes inland, linking with airborne units by noon, their advance swift against scattered opposition. Omaha's beaches, however, remain a bottleneck, where men huddle behind obstacles awaiting the breakthrough that Roosevelt's planning must deliver. Combat engineers, under relentless fire, prepare to detonate charges while destroyers edge closer to shore, their guns targeting German strongpoints with surgical precision. Roosevelt's diplomatic triumphs ensure Allied air supremacy, with American and British planes dominating the skies. The invasion's opening hours test every facet of his leadership, the coalition he built, the industry he mobilized, the resolve he instilled. As landing craft disgorge wave after wave, the weight of his strategy bears down on Normandy's coast, a calculated gamble to reshape the war. Operation Overlord, a plan shaped by Franklin Delano Roosevelt's diplomatic and industrial leadership, concentrates Allied power against Normandy to fracture Nazi Germany's western defenses. Operation Neptune, its assault phase assigns Utah and Omaha to American forces, Gold and Sword to British, and Juno to Canadian troops. Roosevelt's strategic vision, cemented through summits in Casablanca, Quebec, and Tehran, prioritizes a second front to relieve Soviet pressure and hasten Germany's collapse. Dwight David Eisenhower, backed by Roosevelt's confidence, approves the invasion for 6 June 1944, seizing a marginal weather window after James Stagg's forecast, and a one-day delay from 5 June. The Atlantic Wall, Adolf Hitler's coastal fortress, stretches from Norway to Spain, a network of bunkers, mines, and artillery designed to repel any seaborne assault. In Normandy, the German 7th Army under General Friedrich Dollmann mans the defences with the German 352nd Infantry Division entrenched at Omaha and lighter units at Utah. German High Command, led by Field Marshal Erwin Rommel's Army Group B, anticipates an attack at Pas-de-Calais, misled by Roosevelt's deception operations, particularly Fortitude. This ruse, executed with coded signals and dummy armies, holds the German 15th Army far from Normandy, a testament to Roosevelt's mastery of strategic misdirection. Allied air forces, bolstered by American production under Roosevelt's oversight, fly 3,000 sorties daily, severing rail lines and bridges to isolate the battlefield. The American objective is precise: secure a lodgment on the coast, capture usable ports, link with British and Canadian beachheads, and open a corridor to Germany's heartland. Roosevelt's domestic leadership fuels this effort. His administration transforms factories into war machines, producing 5,000 ships, countless aircraft, and mountains of supplies. His fireside chats delivered with calm authority unify a nation, rallying workers, soldiers, and citizens for the sacrifices ahead. The stakes of Overlord are monumental, reflecting Roosevelt's global ambitions. Failure risks delaying the Second Front, emboldening Nazi resistance, and straining the Allied coalition he has painstakingly built. A stalled invasion could undermine Soviet trust, fracture the United Nations alliance, and prolong a war that has already claimed millions. Success, however, secures a Western foothold, accelerates Germany's defeat, and positions the United States as a post-war superpower, fulfilling Roosevelt's vision of a world order shaped by American values. His Lend-Lease program, funneling aid to Britain and the Soviet Union, ensures the Allies have the tools to fight, while his speeches frame the war as a moral imperative, galvanizing public support. Roosevelt's political maneuvering extends to the home front, where he balances labor strikes, economic strain, and political opposition to maintain war production. His War Production Board, established in 1942, streamlines manufacturing, delivering the ships, tanks, and planes now converging on Normandy. The invasion's success depends on this industrial backbone, paired with the diplomatic unity Roosevelt has forged across continents. German perspective at the turning point. Generals argue over Calais, blind to Roosevelt's Normandy feint unfolding. Airfields launch 3,000 sorties daily to choke German reinforcements. Roosevelt's coalition tests Germany's strategic assumptions. The invasion's opening moves reflect Roosevelt's ability to align disparate forces, British precision, Canadian resolve, American scale, into a single devastating strike. At home, his leadership ensures that every factory worker, every taxpayer, feels part of the effort, their labor fueling the armada now breaching Hitler's wall. The political stakes are as critical as the military ones. Roosevelt's legacy and America's place in the world hang in the balance as the first waves hit the shore. American airborne operations commence after midnight on 6 June 1944, as pathfinders from the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions leap into Normandy's darkness. Their C-47 seconds, flying at 600 feet through flak and turbulence, scatter paratroopers across the Cotentin Peninsula to secure causeways behind Utah and disrupt the German 7th Army's rear. By dawn, key roads and bridges are held, though many units land miles off target, their radios silent in the chaos. The number that matters is 500 paratroopers per causeway, enough to block German counterattacks until beach forces arrive. Rear Admiral Alan Goodrich Kirk's Western Naval Task Force, built through Roosevelt's industrial mobilization, closes on Utah and Omaha. Battleships and cruisers positioned at 3,000 yards unleash salvos targeting bunkers and gun emplacements, their fire coordinated with Allied air forces. At Utah, the 4th Infantry Division, under Lieutenant General John Lawton Collins's 7th Corps, lands downbeach due to currents. Meeting light resistance losses are under 200 men by mid-morning. Omaha is a slaughterhouse. The 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions under Major General Leonard Townsend Gero's 5th Corps hit a fortified shore held by the German 352nd Infantry Division. Surf steel obstacles and enfilade fire stall the first waves, leaving men pinned on open shingle, their advance halted by relentless machine gun fire. Combat engineers, under constant threat, detonate charges to clear barbed wire and mines their work, opening narrow paths through the obstacles. Destroyers edge closer, some within 1,000 yards of shore, firing point-blank into German strongpoints with 5-inch guns. Roosevelt's diplomatic weight ensures Allied air supremacy, with 3,000 sorties, daily striking rail lines, bridges and troop movements isolating the battlefield. Small infantry groups using smoke and cover from naval guns probe for weaknesses in the German line, their actions reflecting the resolve Roosevelt has instilled through years of national mobilization. The tactical shift begins here, driven by Roosevelt's engineered systems. Airborne drops disrupt German communications. Naval gunfire suppresses. Fortified positions and infantry probes exploit gaps. At Utah, the 4th Infantry Division pushes inland, linking with airborne units near Sainte-Mère-Église. By noon, their advance swift against fragmented opposition. Omaha remains a choke point, where men huddle behind steel hedgehogs, awaiting the breakthrough that Roosevelt's planning must deliver. The invasion's success depends on these coordinated elements, air, sea, and ground aligned under Roosevelt's coalition, a product of his diplomatic and industrial leadership. German perspective at the turning point. Coastal commanders report naval barrages, overwhelming bunkers outpacing their artillery response. Landing craft deliver 2,000 men per wave at Omaha. Roosevelt's strategy tests the invasion's momentum. Roosevelt's role extends beyond the battlefield. His speeches, framing the war as a fight for freedom, have prepared soldiers and civilians for this moment, while his Lend-Lease program ensures the Allies have the tools to execute it. The airborne and beach assaults, though fraught with risk, embody his vision of overwhelming force, backed by a nation mobilized for war. As the first hours unfold, the weight of his leadership bears down on Normandy's coast, a calculated strike to reshape the global order. A rifleman from the 29th Infantry Division steps onto Omaha's shingle water, chest high as machine gun rounds slice through the surf. He drops behind a steel hedgehog, clutching his rifle, hearing destroyers' 5-inch guns at 1,000 yards slam German positions. The air reeks of salt smoke and cordite, shouts are drowned by the roar of shells. Combat engineers kneeling beside obstacles set charges under fire, their blasts carving paths through barbed wire and mines. The rifleman joins a squad, inching toward the bluffs using shell craters for cover, driven by the purpose Roosevelt's fireside chats have etched into their hearts. At Pointe du Hoc Rangers, under Lieutenant Colonel James Earl Rudder, scale 90-foot cliffs, their ropes slick with salt and shale. Grenades rain from above, but they reach the summit. Finding empty gun emplacements, the coastal battery has been moved inland. Pushing along muddy tracks, they locate and disable the guns by mid-morning, securing a critical flank between Omaha and Utah. In the Cotentin, a paratrooper from the 101st Airborne Division, separated from his unit rallies a dozen men, seizes a causeway by dawn and signals the beach an exit is open. These soldiers, shaped by Roosevelt's call to sacrifice, turn strategic plans into reality through grit and precision. Roosevelt's leadership permeates their actions. His diplomatic efforts deliver naval gunfire and air support, while his industrial mobilization supplies the rifles, ships, and explosives they wield. His speeches, broadcast to millions, frame the war as a moral necessity, inspiring men to face fire and steel. The constraint was German firepower. Roosevelt's engineered systems, naval barrages, demolition charges, air supremacy begin to unravel it, empowering soldiers to exploit every gap. The rifleman at Omaha, the ranger at Pointe du Hoc, the paratrooper in the Cotentin, their resolve reflects a nation unified by Roosevelt's voice. Their actions a direct extension of his political will. German perspective at the turning point. Defenders watch infantry infiltrate, draws outmaneuvering their static machine gun nests. Destroyers fire 100 rounds per strongpoint before repositioning. Roosevelt's soldiers advance his vision. The human cost is stark, yet Roosevelt's leadership ensures it is not in vain. His coalition's air forces flying 3,000 sorties daily isolate the battlefield, while his factories produce the landing craft, delivering wave after wave. These men, ordinary Americans transformed by war, carry Roosevelt's strategy forward. Their small victories blasted obstacles, secured causeways, silenced guns, building the foundation for a broader triumph. The invasion's human element, grounded in Roosevelt's moral and political authority, proves as critical as its engineered systems. By noon on 6 June 1944, Omaha's draws begin to yield under relentless pressure as destroyers within 1,000 yards suppress German strongpoints with precise gunfire. Combat engineers blast gaps through obstacles, widening paths for follow-on waves, their charges detonating under a hail of bullets. Infantry squads no larger than 10 men work up the gullies using smoke and naval cover to advance. At Utah, the 4th Infantry Division under Lieutenant General John Lawton Collins' 7th Corps links with airborne units near Santa Mia Église, forming a continuous lodgment. Roosevelt's industrial might sustains this push. 5,000 ships deliver men, tanks, and supplies across 100 miles. Allied air forces flying 3,000 sorties daily. Strike bridges, rail lines, and troop movements, isolating the battlefield and paralyzing German response. German command fractures under the strain. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, commanding Army Group B, disperses anti-tank units along the coast, expecting to stop the invasion at the waterline. Gerd von Rundstedt Oberbefehlshaber West argues for mobile armoured reserves, but Adolf Hitler retains control of key panzer divisions, delaying their release until evening. Roosevelt's fortitude deception, a masterstroke of misdirection, keeps the German 15th Army fixed at Pas-de-Calais, while Panzer Lehr and the 12th SS Panzer Division, moving late, are harried by Allied fighter bombers. The German 352nd Infantry Division, stretched across Omaha's bluffs, cannot shift fast enough to seal every breach. Ranger survivors hold the cliff line at Pointe du Hoc, while Utah's forces turn inland, linking airborne and beachhead units. Roosevelt's diplomatic unity ensures this coordination, his coalition outpacing German response. Small unit actions backed by naval and air power unravel the Atlantic Wall's static defenses, turning draws into corridors off the beach. The tactical shift reflects Roosevelt's strategic foresight, his ability to align industry diplomacy and military power into a single devastating force. German perspective, at the turning point, panzer commanders halt columns under air attack, unable to counter Roosevelt's momentum. Reserves deploy after 12 hours of Allied consolidation. Roosevelt's lodgment takes root. Roosevelt's political leadership underpins every advance. His Lend-Lease program ensures the Allies have the ships and planes to dominate sea and sky, while his speeches rally a nation to sustain the war effort. The invasion's success hinges on these coordinated elements: airstrikes, naval barrages, infantry pushes, all enabled by Roosevelt's ability to unite disparate forces under a common goal. As the beachhead expands, his vision of a liberated Europe begins to take shape, carried forward by soldiers and systems engineered for victory. The Atlantic Wall, Adolf Hitler's symbol of invincibility, crumbles under the weight of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's engineered coalition. By afternoon on 6 June 1944, Omaha's bluffs are pierced in multiple places, with infantry pushing inland, and combat engineers widening beach exits for follow-on forces. Utah's lodgment deepens as the 4th Infantry Division links with airborne units, forming a continuous front across the Cotentin Peninsula. The core metric endures 5,000 ships crossing 100 miles, deliver the invasion's lifeblood, men, tanks, and supplies. Allied air forces flying 3,000 sorties daily shatter German mobility, striking convoys, bridges, and troop concentrations with relentless precision. The German myth of an impregnable wall dissolves under Roosevelt's strategic mastery. Concrete, bunkers, minefields, and artillery cannot withstand the combined force of sea control, air supremacy, and logistical improvisation. The German assumption that a deep-water port is essential for invasion fades. A temporary harbour at Arromanches, constructed from prefabricated caissons, sustains Allied supply lines. The American Mulberry off Omaha, wrecked by a mid-June storm, is offset by the rapid capture of Cherbourg later in June, a testament to Roosevelt's planning for redundancy. German hopes of a decisive counterstroke collapse as forward headquarters lose communications, overwhelmed by the speed and scale of Allied advances. Roosevelt's fortitude deception, holding the German 15th Army at Pas-de-Calais, ensures that critical reserves arrive too late to stem the tide. Panzerlehr and the 12th SS Panzer Division, delayed by Adolf Hitler's direct orders, cannot mass in daylight under relentless air attack. The German belief in static defense capable of repelling a modern amphibious assault lies broken, replaced by the reality of Roosevelt's combined arms doctrine and industrial might. His diplomatic triumphs uniting Britain, Canada, and the United States deliver the coordination that shatters German assumptions, while his factories produce the tools that make it possible. German perspective at the turning point. High Command loses contact as Roosevelt's forces overrun forward outposts. Beachheads expand by 10 miles inland within 1 week. Roosevelt's strategy reshapes the battlefield. Roosevelt's political acumen is the invasion's cornerstone. His ability to rally a nation, mobilize industry, and forge alliances creates a force that Germany cannot match. His speeches, framing the war as a fight for democracy, inspire soldiers and civilians alike, while his Lend-Lease program ensures the Allies have the resources to sustain the fight. The collapse of the Atlantic Wall marks a turning point not just in the war, but in the global order, with Roosevelt's vision of American leadership emerging as the dominant force. By nightfall on 6 June 1944, American beachheads at Utah and Omaha stand firm, their lines thin but unbroken, stretching across Normandy's coast. The 4th Infantry Division, under Lieutenant General John Lawton Collins, presses toward Corentin, linking with airborne units, while Omaha's 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions hold the bluffs connecting to British and Canadian positions at Gold, Juno, and Sword. The core metric remains 5,000 ships crossing 100 miles deliver a relentless flow of men, tanks, and supplies. Allied air forces flying 3,000 sorties daily paralyze German counterattacks, striking convoys and bridges to ensure the lodgment's growth. Through June, the Allied lodgment deepens across Normandy's bocage country, where hedgerows and narrow lanes challenge infantry and armour. Cherbourg falls before July, its port swiftly reopened to fuel the advance, a direct result of Roosevelt's logistical planning. Operation Cobra, launched in late July near Saint-Lô, shatters the German front, unleashing a pursuit across France that traps German forces in the Falaise pocket by August. Paris is liberated by late August, a symbolic victory that underscores Roosevelt's vision of a free Europe. The Normandy invasion secures the Western Front, setting a timetable that carries the war to Germany's heartland, encircling and destroying Nazi forces. Roosevelt's leadership, diplomatic, industrial, moral, defines this triumph. His coalition, forged through years of negotiation, unites disparate nations into a single force, while his factories produce the ships, planes, and weapons that overwhelm German defenses. His speeches, delivered with unwavering conviction, frame the war as a moral imperative, rallying Americans to sustain the effort. The invasion proves that political will, paired with engineered systems, can overcome even the most formidable obstacles. The Atlantic Wall, once a symbol of Nazi invincibility, lies in ruins, replaced by the reality of Roosevelt's strategic genius. German perspective at the turning point. Generals watch divisions encircled, outmaneuvered by Roosevelt's relentless campaign. Lodgment deepens by 20 miles within 1 month. Roosevelt's triumph reshapes the war. The Normandy campaign cements Roosevelt's legacy as a transformative leader. His ability to mobilize a nation, align allies, and outmaneuver adversaries secures not just a military victory, but a new global order. The invasion's success, driven by 5,000 ships and 3,000 sorties, reflects his capacity to turn vision into reality, positioning the United States as the architect of a post-war world. As American forces push toward Germany, Roosevelt's leadership carries the promise of liberation, a testament to the power of political will in the face of tyranny.